You are 26 years old and you are good at your job. Not spectacular, not decorated, just good in the quiet, reliable way that keeps you employed and mostly invisible inside a mid-sized DEA field office in El Paso. You process intelligence reports, you cross-reference phone intercepts with known associates, you flag anomalies in financial data. It is meticulous, unglamorous work, and you do it well enough that your supervisor trusts you with case files that someone your age and rank probably shouldn't touch. That access will matter later. That access is, in fact, the reason everything that happens next happens at all. The call comes on a Tuesday, not from your supervisor, from a number you don't recognize, routed through a protocol you later learn is used exclusively by a joint task force operating above your clearance level. The voice on the other end is calm. She tells you your name, your case file number, your mother's address in Tucson, and the name of the man you've been building a low-priority intelligence dossier on for the past 8 months. Rodrigo Salazar Vega, logistics coordinator for the Corriente Negra Cartel, the most vertically integrated and strategically disciplined criminal organization operating in the Western Hemisphere. Then, she tells you that Salazar has been flagged as a potential recruitment target, that someone needs to get close to him, that you, specifically, have been identified as the candidate. She gives you 6 hours to decide. She tells you what happens to the people who say no, not as a threat, but as information. You will be transferred. Your file will be buried. The access you've quietly accumulated will be revoked. The case you've spent 8 months building will be reassigned. She is not threatening you. She is simply describing your future with and without cooperation. You say yes, you tell yourself it's because it's the right thing to do. That is partially true. The preparation takes 4 months. You don't go dark immediately. Instead, you are coached to make a series of decisions that appear to any observer with access to your employment record, like professional self-destruction. You start missing deadlines. You submit a report with a critical error you were told to include. You have a loud, unprofessional argument with your supervisor in an open office. You are formally reprimanded. 6 weeks later, following a second incident that was also scripted, you resign. Your handler makes sure the resignation is acrimonious enough to be documented, public enough to travel, and professional enough not to trigger sympathy from colleagues who might ask questions. 2 weeks after you resign, a man you've never met introduces you to Salazar at a bar in Ciudad Juarez as a disgruntled ex-DEA analyst with a gambling problem and flexible ethics. Salazar looks at you for a long time before he speaks. He asks you one question. What's the most valuable thing you took when you left? You tell him about a set of informant communication protocols that, if true, would expose 3 active assets inside northern Sonora. You give him partial information enough to be verified, not enough to get anyone killed, and only after your handler has quietly moved those assets and replaced them with clean cover identities, Salazar checks. The information holds, he invites you for dinner. This is how you enter the cartel. Not dramatically. Not with a gun, with a dinner invitation and a carefully constructed lie. Your first year inside is surveillance work. Salazar gives you small tasks. Verify that a particular shipment route is clean, cross-reference a phone number against known law enforcement databases you allegedly still have access to, flag any DEA operational patterns targeting northern Mexico corridors. You fabricate results where you need to and deliver real, carefully controlled information where the risk is low. Every week, you pass what you've learned through a dead drop protocol so archaic it feels almost theatrical. A folded receipt left inside a specific magazine at a specific newsstand on Avenida Juarez. You never meet your handler in person. You are told this is for your protection. You understand it also means that if you are compromised, there is no meeting they can be traced to. The psychological weight of the first year is different from what you expected. You expected fear. Fear is there, but it is manageable, almost clinical. What you did not expect is the cognitive exhaustion of maintaining 2 simultaneous, contradictory identities with no room for error. Every conversation requires a calculation. Every question someone asks you requires you to identify what version of yourself they believe they are speaking to, what that version would say, and whether your answer is consistent with everything that version has said before. You build a mental map of your own cover story, and you maintain it the way a surgeon maintains a sterile field 1 breach and everything becomes septic. In the second year, you move up, not because you sought it, but because Salazar is promoted within the organization structure and pulls you with him. His new position gives him oversight of logistics for the entire northern corridor, a stretch of operational territory worth approximately $2 billion annually in drug and human trafficking revenue. You become his analyst, his intelligence consultant, the person he trusts to tell him whether information is credible or whether someone is setting him up. The irony is not lost on you. You are, in fact, the person setting him up. You are doing it slowly, carefully, piece by piece, building a case architecture that your handlers tell you is the most comprehensive intelligence package compiled against a Tier 1 cartel target in 11 years. The moral tension arrives not in one moment, but gradually, like pressure building in a sealed chamber. There is a man named Hector who works logistics dispatch, a father of 3, 41 years old, who has been inside the cartel since he was 17 and has been trying to get out for the past 4 years. You know this because he told you in confidence one night when the alcohol lowered his defenses further than it should have. You pass this information up the chain. You suggest he could be turned, used as a secondary asset, extracted safely. Your handler tells you that Hector's extraction would draw attention at a critical phase of the operation, and that the decision has been made to leave him in place. 3 months later, Hector is suspected of skimming by a mid-level enforcer who has nothing to do with your operation. He is killed in a warehouse on the outskirts of Nogales. You were not responsible for his death. You also did not prevent it when you might have had the calculus been different. You think about Hector regularly. You use the thought to stay sharp. By the 3rd year, you understand how the Corriente Negra actually operates, and the understanding is both impressive and deeply disturbing. This is not an organization built on violence, though violence is certainly a tool. It is built on systems, on redundancy and compartmentalization so precise that even senior coordinators like Salazar only ever see their own layer of the structure. The cartel operates financial cells, logistics cells, political influence cells, and enforcement cells that never directly communicate with each other. Intelligence flows upward through handlers. Decisions flow downward through intermediaries. No single person, except perhaps the 3 individuals at the absolute apex of the organization, has a complete picture. You are building that picture. You are the person assembling, from fragments gathered across 3 years of embedded access, the first comprehensive map of how the entire system connects. There is a moment, deep in the 3rd year, when you come closer to being caught than any other point in your time inside. A new security chief named Varela arrives from the Guadalajara faction to conduct what the organization calls an internal audit, a systematic review of all senior staff access and loyalty. Varela is methodical in a way that makes Salazar look casual. He interviews everyone individually, cross-referencing answers, checking inconsistencies. When he interviews you, he asks about your DEA resignation twice, from different angles, separated by 40 minutes of unrelated conversation. You notice the repetition. You understand what he is doing. You give him the same answer both times, word for word, with no emotional variation. Because you rehearsed this moment specifically, and because any deviation in phrasing, any attempt to improve or clarify, is the exact tell he is looking for. He watches you for a long moment after your second answer, then he moves on. You do not breathe normally for approximately 4 hours afterward. You pass the audit. Varela marks you clean, but the audit changes the operational environment. Salazar tightens his communications protocols. The organization moves away from any digital infrastructure for its most sensitive coordination. Your access narrows. The intelligence flow to your dead drop slows. Your handlers tell you the timeline for extraction is being moved forward, that the operation will reach its conclusion within 6 months, that the case package you've built is sufficient to execute simultaneous arrests across 14 jurisdictions. You are told to begin creating conditions for a clean exit. This is where the weight of what you've been building finally settles on you with its full mass, because an exit means the arrests happen. And the arrest will dismantle a network that employs, directly or indirectly, thousands of people in communities where no other economy exists. It will remove a power structure without replacing it. You know from your 3 years inside that the Corriente Negra's collapse will not create a vacuum that legitimate institutions fill. It will create a vacuum that three competing organizations are already positioning to exploit, and the transition period, measured in historical precedent, will be the most violent stretch of years this region has seen in decades. You are not naive enough to think this means the operation shouldn't happen. You are not naive enough to think it means it should happen without consequence. You are asked to do one final thing before extraction. You are asked to confirm the location of a meeting that will bring together 5 of the organization's senior coordinators, including Salazar, in a single physical location, something that has not happened in 7 years. The meeting is scheduled, you are told, to discuss succession planning following the recent death of a regional director. You have access to the scheduling communication because Salazar, who trusts you, mentioned the meeting in passing, and you asked a single, carefully framed follow-up question that gave you the date, the city, and the venue. You pass this information through your dead drop, you receive confirmation that it has been received, you receive nothing else. On the morning of the meeting, you are not in the city. Your exit was arranged 3 days prior, executed through a protocol that had you leave for what appeared to be a routine supply chain verification trip to a border crossing 200 kilometers away. You are in a car on a highway when your phone, your second phone, the one only one person has the number for, receives a single text that contains no words, only a confirmation code. It means the operation is active. It means the arrests are in motion. It means Salazar, who handed you a glass of whiskey 48 hours ago and called you the most trustworthy man he'd ever worked with, is currently being put in handcuffs in a room you identified. You sit with that for a long time. The debrief takes 11 days. You sit across from analysts and attorneys and people who will not tell you their names, and you reconstruct everything, every contact, every communication, every operational detail you observed across 3 years of embedded access. The case package, when it is finalized, runs to thousands of pages. It results in arrests in 4 countries. It dismantles the logistics network that moved roughly 30% of the Northern Corridor's traffic. It is, your handler tells you, in a rare moment of directness, one of the most significant intelligence operations conducted against a cartel target in the past 15 years. She says this without apparent emotion, the same way she said everything else. You are given a new identity, a new city, a modest resettlement stipend, and a list of things you are not permitted to do, including travel to Mexico, make contact with anyone from your prior life, or discuss the operation with anyone without prior authorization. You are 30 years old. You have spent the most formative years of your adult life becoming someone who didn't exist in order to dismantle something that did. You are told you did good work. You believe this is true. You also understand, with a clarity that no debrief prepared you for, that true and good are not the same thing, and that you will be working out the distance between them for the rest of your life. You start over in a city where no one knows you. You find work that keeps you busy but does not require you to be particularly interesting. Some nights you sleep easily. Other nights you think about Hector, about Salazar's voice when he called you trustworthy, about the teenagers in logistics who are probably, right now, working for whoever moved into the Corriente Negra's vacuum after the arrests. You think about the version of you who said yes in a phone call 6 hours after being asked, and whether that person made that decision for the reasons they told themselves or for reasons they haven't fully named yet. The phone on your kitchen counter is silent. It has been silent for 4 months. You have started, recently, to find the silence uncomfortable. You are not sure what that means. You are not sure you want to find out.